mother, a teacher. Pretty good bloodlines for a fellow who would become one of the state's premier broadcast journalists. Growing up in a solid South Omaha Irish family, his grandfather was a policeman killed in line of duty. Walt was a studious 7-year-old at St. Bridget's grade school, and an altar boy at age 12 while in the 8th grade. Graduating from South High School in 1940, Walt headed for Creighton University to study broadcast journalism. But World War II intervened, and his college career was interrupted by 39 months in the Army. He suffered an injury in a jump while training as a paratrooper, but later spent 12 months with the Army of Occupation in Germany. Home from the service in 1946, Walt returned to Creighton University to complete his education. He also got married. The former Joanne Walker became Mrs. Walt Kavanagh in December of 1946, while Walt still had another year of school. Walt and Joanne became parents of 3 daughters and 1 son, although she was disabled by polio early in their marriage. Despite her disability, Joanne's support sustained Walt throughout a hectic broadcast career. Sadly, she died shortly after Walt's retirement. They had been married for 46 years. Walt Kavanaugh's first broadcast job was at KFJB in Marshalltwon, Iowa, where he spent over 2 years. Following that, there was a brief stint at an Alabama station and some flirting with job opportunities in Denver, before he returned to Omaha to work for Storz Broadcasting's KOWH for 2.5 years. Walt's next move to KFAB was his final broadcast career move. He remained there 39.5 years, retiring in January 1992. In looking back at his career, Walt expresses special gratitude for the opportunity to work with the late Todd Storz, originator of the Top 40 format, and the late Lyle Bremser, whose total commitment to news matched Walt's own passion for good broadcast journalism. His 42 years on the air on a regularly scheduled daily news broadcast may well be a record, at least for the Omaha market. And of course, KFAB's long broadcast reach brought his familiar voice with the news to thousands outside Omaha. Indeed, the famous RCA dog head cocked to the speaker was probably listening to Walt Kavanagh. School kids loved Walt. It was his voice which gave thousands of them over the years the word that schools were closed because of bad weather. When heavy snows blocked roads and closed schools and businesses, Walt was there to tell them to stay home. What most of them didn't realize, of course, was that Walt had frequently walked 3 miles from his own home to the radio station so that he could tell them to stay home, joined by his longtime morning show colleagues, Don Cole and Kent Pavelka. Walt is still trying to adjust his sleeping habits after all those years rising at 3:30 a.m. He was up before the cows, or at least before the guys milking the cows. Omaha School Superintendent Dr. Norbert Sherman talked about it at Walt's retirement party.
And I hate to admit it, but Mr. Kavanaugh, I woke up and milked lots of cows listening to you in the barn in Beieved, Nebraska on the farm, and nary did I ever believe I'd meet the voice of Walt Kavanaugh. I have an award to present to Walt Kavanaugh on behalf of the educators of Nebraska. And it's for the following 3 reasons. First of all, there probably is not an individual in Nebraska who, because of his job, stimulates more negative calls to the superintendent's office than Walt Kavanaugh. Occasionally also some positive calls. Secondly, there's probably not an individual across this country, whether he be a superintendent or not, who has opened and closed more schools than Walt Kavanaugh.
Although his voice is instantly recognized, Walt's face is not that familiar to his legions of listeners. Longtime colleague Jack Payne told a story at the retirement party.
This guy's career started on a religious note. He's a good Catholic. He got a beat on everybody else, the Great Flood. He had a one-on-one interview with Noah on the religious note, and your career sort of terminated at the other end. About a year ago, I think, brought the highlight to it on another religious note when did your monologue on cable television. People had never seen you before, and the voice was all they heard. They looked up there, and they said, "Oh my God."
Among the many others who helped Walt celebrate his career and his retirement last year was the governor of the state, Ben Nelson. He noted that Walt made an early riser out of him also, but there were no hard feelings.
That for the last 40 years you've been waking me up real early in the morning and I'm not mad at you. I can say one thing about Walt. Walt has always taken himself the way people should, not as seriously as an individual, but tonight on this very important day, I saw that he was looking at his glass of water, and he was trying to decide whether to walk on it or part it. But in the meantime, we are very delighted to make you an admiral in the great Navy of the state of Nebraska to help you remember all of your friends and all of your fond memories here in this lovely and great state.
Well, Admiral Kavanaugh has been honored by many others during his busy career. The Society of Professional Journalists named him Journalist of the Year a couple of years before his retirement. That award is meant to recognize lifetime achievement, not just those of the past year. Mayor Morgan gave Walt the key to the city of Omaha when he retired. He is a member of Omaha South High's Hall of Fame. Last May, the Omaha Press Club added Walt to its collection of Faces on the Barroom Floor, a distinction which carries with it more respect and honor than the description might seem to suggest. Former KFAB colleague Di Sago made the presentation. In retirement, Walt has taken on a variety of civic duties. He's a member of the Cancer Society Communications Committee, the Committee for Native American Corporation, the American Legion, and others. And this is not just Walt taking out the family garbage. He's hard at work on a widely seen public service announcement in support of recycling. Whoever thought we'd hear Walt Kavanaugh talking trash? For relaxation, Walt says he putters at carpentry, but he adds, "I never lose my amateur standing." If so, this is the only thing amateur about consummate pro, Walter Kavanaugh. Here he is now on the last day of work following his near 40-year routine as a broadcast newsman.
This is Walt Kavanaugh with the 5:30 KFAB News. We have 33 degrees in Omaha and Council Bluffs. Lincoln has 38. It's a frosty morning this morning, enough so that the sanding crews have been out here in the Omaha Council Bluffs area. So be on the alert for some very slippery spots, both driving and walking. We'll have patches of fog in Omaha and Council Bluffs this morning.
great voices, two great broadcasters. The Nebraska Broadcasters Association is proud to welcome Larry Rice and Walt Kavanaugh to its Hall of Fame.